let's rewind and talk about Star Fox, which is where we started before we talked about a bunch of Nintendo plastic for 10 minutes. But Nate the Hate basically said, hey, Star Fox is it's coming. It's coming this year to Switch 2. It's going to be a big game. And Nate the Hate does have a track record of some accurate leaks and a track record of some not so accurate leaks. It's across the board. I'm not taking this as fact. I think a lot of people are, but whenever one of these leakers says anything, I think you should always take it with a big grain of salt.
This could be, it could be somebody said, oh, of course, it makes sense. They have Star Fox in the new movie, and therefore they're going to bring back something Star Fox. It could be that it's rooted in something that, it could be genuinely leaked information. I'm not going to get too excited about it because it could also be Star Fox 99, which I'm not going to play in the end. Or it could be another remake. Not that I'm hating on 3D. I thought that was a really fun remake, but I'm ready for something new and hopefully not gimmicky with two screens and all that. I love that series, man. Like I like playing them. I'd love one.
Yeah, so basically that is what I wanted to talk about with you guys. So Brian, before Star Fox was officially announced, Brian had seen the movie and we're on Slack, and I'm just like, Fox, yes or no? And you're like, yes. And so I text Pear and I'm like, hey Pear, go to the Mario Galaxy movie so you can come on the show because there's something we need to talk about. And that thing is Star Fox. I wanted you guys here to talk about the future of Star Fox. If it's coming back, if there's validity to this rumor from Nate the Hate, what should it look like? Because 2 weeks ago on this show, I said that Star Fox should stay dead unless they come up with a way to meaningfully reinvent it, because I think the last 30 years of Star Fox have been, let's redo 64 to diminishing returns each time. Like, and the last time we saw that was already 10 years ago now with Star Fox Zero. I don't think you can wheel out an on-rails $60 to $70 3-hour arcade shooter campaign and call it a day anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that will work. I don't think many people will be happy with it. So Brian, if Star Fox comes back, what should they do?
So I think you're spot on. One of the issues is they've basically been handcuffed to the original or the N64 one, right? And right down to remakes and effectively trying to scratch that itch over and over again. And they've done it in weird ways, because a lot of the times they've tethered these like kind of ancient ideas of what this franchise should be to a gimmick. And a gimmick is like on the DS version, there's like a, touch screen stylus stuff. And the Wii U version had its own, weird quirks with the second screen. And I think they sort of lost what this could be. And I think you guys are, you're right in that we're long past being able to sell like a 3-hour game that people play over and over and over again, right? I think you need to do something deeper, and you need to do something bigger. And I don't know if necessarily like, the Star Fox dinosaur planet thing is the way to go. But I do think that like having kind of a deeper story, some more on foot sections, not necessarily open world, but like just a bigger game that has a little bit more dynamic examples of gameplay. Like, so you have R-Wing stuff where you can fly around from point A to point B, but you can also get out and explore, maybe gather resources. I know Nintendo loves doing that now, and, bring it back to the ship, upgrade, do all this other stuff. And so I think that they have to go bigger. I think that you can have, these kind of classic schmuppy, third person arcade score based sections, but ultimately they need to service a story and a scope that's grander and bigger.
Yeah, what do you think, Per?
It's so tough. Like I've thought about this a bunch because and so as Nintendo, right? Like Star Fox 64 was like the original game, but bigger. But since then, each game introduced some sort of element, like whether, like you plan your route or
walker
has like light RTS elements or something.
Yeah.
They've tinkered with it. And from the beginning, I always thought I love the on-rail segments, but I also want these bigger battles. And that's what they did with their riff on Independence Day in 64. And then obviously they had these open zones in future games. And I sort of have to concede that no matter which game you play, whenever you're in the R-Wing and you're flying in a linear fashion with some branching paths and big bosses, that's when the games are the most fun. And anytime they deviate from it, I feel like it gets a little tedious. I did not like any of the on-foot stuff that Namco cooked up in the past. And like, I don't know. I agree. The on-rail shooter thing is not tenable. At the same time, I felt like Dinosaur Planet, Star Fox Adventures ventured too far from that core sort of vehicle combat stuff. And so, yeah, I keep going back to, is it possible to create an open world game where vehicles play a major part, or you go full roguelite, classic, more arcade style, where you literally die in mission 3 and you got to go back to the beginning. You got to get better and better and better to unlock the entire sort of path and explore it. And I have a feeling nobody would play that. So
I love that. I love a roguelite Star Fox idea. Actually,
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
that might be the secret to getting somebody to continuously replay, the same sort of thing over and over, instead of chasing for like a score based thing, or maybe that's an element too.
yeah.
I actually really like the roguelite idea, Pear.
So like, hold
Yeah.
on, let me work on that quick. No, but the Wii U game was basically Nintendo saying, "Hey, there are not a lot of people who make flight combat games anymore. Let's actually work with the ones that know their stuff." Right? That's how we got the sort of Ace Combat DNA, and then they went off the deep end with, pilot a drone and look at your tablet stuff, which was all fun for a
Yeah.
second from a gimmicky perspective, but just ultimately not that fun to play in practice, and also
Yeah.
sort of makes this game hard to replicate and now bring to Switch as a re-release. They have to refactor all of that, which is a bummer for preservation, right?
Mhm.
No, they are amazing vehicle-based space games in the past. Like, if you think of the old Star Wars X-Wing games and TIE Fighter, they were so cool. They had moments where you're patrolling and you're scanning ships for contraband, and it had this sort of slow build up with lots of story over the radio, and you were basically the cops in that universe and checking everybody. And then it went into full on combat and exploration, all that. That to me is
Yeah.
the amazing template. But I say that because it's nobody has been able to replicate that feel of the original X-Wing and TIE Fighter LucasArts games since then. And so nobody, yeah, there's just nothing like this. But if you were able to explore a quadrant, a world, and in the beginning you didn't know that there was literally like a Death Star like place over there, and you had to work out, you had to do some quests to get the coordinates and then jump there. That sort of setup could be really cool too. But man, building that would be so much work. And are there enough people who would
Mhm.
play a space combat game at this in this age, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm all on board with the roguelite idea. That's where I think Star Fox should
Yeah,
go,
probably.
and I think it should go smaller. I think it should. This is, I feel like, something Nintendo is missing in its modern lineup is Star Fox just shouldn't be a $70 series. It should be a 39.99 series, and it should be approachable for people to say, "Hey, I'll give this a shot." And I just imagine I've been playing Star Fox 64 3D this week, just after seeing the movie and then after hearing these rumblings of Star Fox coming back. And I think Star Fox 64 is such an incredible game. And one of the coolest parts about it to me is just its branching paths, and like in the opening level where it's like you need to save Falco and then you need to fly under all the arches, and Falco be like, "Oh wow, slick flying, follow me," and boom, you're off on an
I
alternate
know, I
path.
love
And
that.
there's I think there's what 25 or so total different paths that you can
Yep.
take, like different combinations. And that's just really cool. And honestly, like kind of ahead of its time in some ways. I look at all the love that like Blueprints got last year, where it's like your mission is to find this final room, and you do that by going through all these other rooms and
Mhm.
learning them. What if the mission of Star Fox is to get to the center of the galaxy and you don't know how to get there?
Yep.
And you're replaying these short 3 to 5 minute missions, and there are alternate completions and endings to them, and you're going on these different paths until you find the golden path that takes you to the end.
Yep.
I think that'd be so cool. And give it to some indie developer that loves the franchise, charge $40 for it, and it'd probably be the best Star Fox game since
What
64.
was Ubisoft's game called again that had
Starlink?
Starlink? That was a really
Yeah.
interesting experiment. Like, it didn't have that sort of, the gameplay wasn't exciting enough in the end, but I did appreciate that they tried to take vehicles and do something. It got bogged down by this sort of dying toys to life concept as well, but
Yeah, it
It's
was a
it,
bit too
it's,
late.
it's in the
Yeah.
Nintendo Museum.
it is Starlink.
It
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
R-Wings?
And
Yep.
Awesome.
yeah, I have the R-Wing on my shelf as well. But like, that was, they tried to do more of an open world with ships sort of set up, right? Nobody played
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
No. I
Yeah.
wonder if that was because of the toys to life element, or because I know like they were extremely late to the party. I mean, like that was when like Disney and Lego couldn't even make that sustainable
Yeah.
anymore. You
No,
know,
and they were actually all good games. Like a lot of the Toys to Life games, the later ones were actually quality games. It's
Yeah.
just that fad had
Mhm.
ended and people didn't want to buy more stuff for their shelves, right? And like
hmm
it's a bit of a bummer. Like there were some really good ideas in this game as well. But the other concept is the sort of more episodic approach, like I joked about Star Fox 99, right? Nintendo still doesn't have a juicy core to its Nintendo Online service the way that a sort of a Fortnite brings to the table with its seasonal concept. Nintendo does introduce different themes to its 99 games, but like having a different mission every 2 weeks that disappears, that be a really cool way to repurpose classic Star Fox levels, and maybe you just adapt them and like tweak them and have them run at 120 frames per second now, because that's possible with those simple graphics. That could be really fun too.
Mhm. Yeah, but is Star Fox to play for that? Will anyone care on NSO?
No, it's just for me.
Yes, I
It's just
know
for me,
it's such a
Logan.
minor group. I know. Yeah, and that's just what I don't want the next Star Fox to be. Is hey, remember 64 again? I think that'd be a really disappointing revival after 10 years away to come back and give you a 3-hour campaign that plays the greatest hits again, but adds some weird wrinkle people don't like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there've been a lot of games with like bounty hunters and cops and all those things. And like Star Fox as a character with his posse lends himself towards an open world game where you do a lot of stuff on foot. But the question is then Fox the right character to do that? Do we really need to change fundamentally what Star Fox is about just to find a place for Fox and his friends? And like
Yeah.
Dinosaur Planet was a good example where like ultimately the game didn't get better by being Star Fox. It just didn't, right? The flight sequences were super weak in it. Look at the animation; it's funny too. And that was.
I've never played this game. I've never played Adventures. I have it, but I have not.
It's
finished
better
it.
than you think and worse than you can imagine. It's
Okay.
it is
Sounds great.
It's just not. It's like it's got this nonsense, annoying script and fake language, and like everything you find is a new collectible. Just look at the menu at the top bottom right. I have no idea, having played this entire game, what any of those things were, because it didn't really matter. It's like MacGuffin after MacGuffin, right? But it was a pretty decent take on the Zelda formula in the end. It didn't feel like Star Fox.
No,
I'm such a critic, though. Pretty decent takes on the Zelda formula aren't good enough for me.
I completely
that's
agree.
Why I've kind of stayed away.
I also I'll just say it. I don't like this game, and I don't like that mediocre things have to get resurfaced as revisionist history classics, because people played them when they were. It's not a classic. People played it when they were 7 and they thought it was amazing, and now they like, if you go back and play this game, it's not very good. And Prince Tricky is probably the worst character. That thing, that stupid Triceratops that they've ever put.
Is that like the Navi, the Midnight?
Yes, but worse.
Okay.
The character. It's funny because like Rare was part of Nintendo, and part of Rare's mission, whether it was stated by Nintendo or Rare wanted to do it themselves, was to always like riff on a Nintendo concept, right? And so they did Diddy Kong Racing to Mario Kart, they did Banjo-Kazooie to Mario, and those were all excellent games. And this was going to be their take on the Zelda formula with original characters like Crystal at the time, and then it got refactored into Star Fox. I don't know. It's not bad, but it's like there was a THQ game called Sphinx, and that was a riff on the Zelda formula, or like there are games like Darksiders, and like it is sort of at that level of quality with a lot of just BS and terrible script and annoying characters.
Yeah, the boss fights are really bad. I will say that the sort of interstitial R-Wing sections are some of the more successful parts of this game, which is odd, but
worse than any level in a Star Fox game. So
yeah,
okay,
sure.
so maybe not a second crack at this is not what we want for Star Fox's big return. But yeah, it'll be interesting if it does come back. I'd like to see it. It's always fun to see a dead Nintendo franchise get revived, and Star Fox is, it's getting up there as one of the ones that's been neglected for the longest. All right, before we go, I do want to quickly hear about what we're playing, because I know you've both dove into Super Mario Bros. 1. Thanks for watching this clip from Nintendo Voice Chat. Be sure to catch the full episode over at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of NVC drop every Friday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. With the Nintendo Switch 2 finally here, there is so much to dive into. We appreciate you tuning in, and don't forget, NVC is the only place you can get the thing.